think we should do something a little different. See, I was going through all the different characters that you can play with in Soul Calibur, and a thought struck me that I should do a weapon breakdown series. I've been wanting to get into this for a long time. I just couldn't really think of a good weapon to start off with. Let's back up a spell. We'll go over who everyone is in these pictures another day. Today I want to look at the chainsword from Soul Calibur, specifically wielded by Ivy. Now, as far as I can tell, let's zoom in here. We'll be looking at the base chainsword, but we'll also take a look at some of the other variants that she has. So let's go with the Ivy blade right now. Now, in base form, it doesn't really seem all that bad to me. The guard's a little wide. I don't know why you would have that, but it definitely could be used. It might be a little heavy. But we're not really interested in base form. We're actually interested in the non-base form of it, the chainsword. So what I'm going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and back out, and we're going to put her through the ringer in some AI battles, because I'm no good with it. But the AI very much is. So we'll put her against a few different characters, and I'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the weapon, not her fighting style, mind you. Let's see, where is she? There she is. Let's use color 2. And let's put her against another equally bizarre weapon that I plan on looking at in my second episode, which would be, let's do Talon. We'll randomize the map because I don't care. Now, Ivy's chainsword has a very unique battlefield control element. Now, assuming it would work the way it does in game, it would be great. Unfortunately, you really wouldn't be able to actually use it as a sword, due to the links having to, again, link together. Now, I don't know if it's magic or whatever that holds it together in Soul Calibur, but as you're seeing here, she's definitely able to get long-range hits off. And that is an enormous advantage in any sort of melee medieval weapon fight. Usually war pikes and spears and stuff like that definitely always outclass your traditional sword. Just because, I mean, they had so much more range. They could even defeat some shields. No, I do say some shields, and I am mainly talking of the wooden variety there, not really your more heavy metal or Viking shields. But it was a thing that could happen, and it very much did in some cases. However, Miss Ivy here and her Ivy blade don't really seem to really capitalize on the main advantage, which it would be for me at least, what I think would be entangling your enemy in that, just swinging around like a flail and wrapping your enemy in it. Instead, she goes for this magic, alchemic look, which is really cool and a really cool fighting style in game, but in IRL, if you could use it like this, it would be more of a flail than an actual sword. They do have a whip sword that, like, the Indonesians or Indians made. I don't know much about it, but it was very hard to use, and there were very few masters of it because it was so dangerous to yourself and to the person you were fighting. I definitely see Ivy's chainsword being something like that. And as Talon just graciously demonstrated, once she gets into a certain range, Ivy will definitely be less effective. This sword would definitely be something that you don't want to have in a battlefield scenario. because without your alchemic properties, I don't think you could do a quarter of what this sword actually could in the game. But it is definitely an interesting idea. And the main problem we keep running into is, again, this... No, there we go. There's some entanglement. Is this range that she keeps deciding on is apparently, according to Miss Ivy here, that blade is a medium engagement range. Because we see her playing with it at that distance. Very rarely does she get into close range, which I do believe would be a thing. And very rarely is she actually that long range. Now see, the way she, in this victory animation, that's how I would assume the sword would be used, actually, not this, I can switch at a moment's notice. Let's go up against someone that I think would have a more sane weapon. Maybe not so much sane fighting style, but definitely a more sane weapon that I personally would use. So, and if you guys are watching, you already know who I'm gonna pick.
Ready for this?
Now we're gonna just randomize the map again. And after this, I think I've summed up pretty much everything I can about the chainsword or chain blade or whatever you want to call it. But the variants we'll go into after this, I do think some of them hold merit. I'm gonna go ahead and skip the intros, get into the fight. And know the fighting styles and stances. If you know anything about HEMA or Oriental martial arts, or even your more Filipino or Indonesian martial arts, most of these are just, they look form over function. But the chainsword here, like wrapping it around yourself would definitely be a disadvantage. Because one good strike and that's going into you just like that. Okay, thank you, Mitsurugi. And now the way she was using it right before she lost that fight, again, that's how I envision it used. You're flailing it around and it's hard to block or counter because of that. Weapon entanglement, entangling limbs, just getting it wrapped around your opponent in some facet, that's how you would use it in my mind. Wow, that was quick. Mitsurugi's making short work of her. Definitely disproving my point of form over function, but thanks, Mitsurugi boy. And this is really where the katana shines, is these definite up-close and personal encounters. And I will be getting into the katana. I'll be getting to more realistic weapons too. I just wanted to start off with something that I could kind of rant on a little bit and people wouldn't really kill me over. But wow, clean sweep. So that's but that's where Mitsurugi stands, I guess, is this clean sweep of a character when it comes to fighting a chainsword, at least. So, and again, the only reason I did the AI was I cannot use IV very well. I am not very versed in the chainsword. It kind of like, I don't know what to do with it half the time. I'm like, can I just go in for a couple kicks? Can I kick him? And let's look at some of these variants. So the player to the proxy. Sorry everyone. Same kind of design, different colors, definitely more suited to her color 2 version. And then Dreamblade. Now I want to talk about Dreamblade. I'll come back to Dreamblade. Allurain. This is one of the ones that I think would be more functional as a chain flail like weapon sword thing. You definitely could use this more effectively because of all the spikes and needles on it. It would hurt to get entangled by. Same thing with, I'm not even kaleidoscope. Now this one's more like more evil looking arrow, and on a traditional sword I wouldn't want to have those spikes because stabbing would be a problem. But again, in this flail kind of sword Morningstar hybrid, yeah, definitely a thing that can happen and would be very useful. The Viper's Edge. Now this is another really cool one in my opinion. this would be a, if it could somehow keep its form and actually be a cutter, this in just this form wouldn't be too bad as a cutter. It would actually be pretty damn good, and wouldn't be too bad in that chain Morningstar hybrid look. But the round handle is a problem. The pommel I don't really care for, and the guard's a little wide. Now let's get to Phoenix Talon. This one is just utterly ridiculous as a sword. Again, as that trail flame thing, it works. It works. But as a sword, the guard's way too big, and it's just pointy edges all over to stab yourself with. Which is why I want to go to Dreamblade. Out of all of them, if I had to use this chainsword, I would actually use Dreamblade, because it has the most sword-like properties of it. Now, when it comes down to the guard, again, the guard's wide and the pommel's a little weird, but you could definitely make this work. Or a Lorraine if you're going for the pure flail thing. The rose on the bottom doesn't really need to be there, but fine. There you go. And then what you could really do, and by the way, the blood pack would be great, because there would be a lot of blood. You would be ripping through your opponent, tearing into them, and it would be gruesome, but it would be very effective. So that's all I have to say about the Chainblade and her variants. I'm Sarge, and I'll see you on the next Sarge's Recap.